wide.
In my restless dreams, I see that town. Silent Hill. You promised you'd take me there again someday, but you never did.
2001's Silent Hill 2 was a landmark game in the survival horror genre. Everything that was unique, complex, thought-provoking, surreal, and horrifying was back tenfold. The game elements seen in the first game are also all here, and as good as ever. But for more info on those, check out my Silent Hill 1 video. Because what makes Silent Hill 2 amazing is the truly complex narrative. This video is going to be a little bit different from the rest of the series, because Silent Hill 2's story is so remarkable and worth discussing. If it's not the best story ever told in a video game, it's definitely up there. Our protagonist, James Sunderland, comes to Silent Hill after he receives a letter from his wife, Mary, his wife who had died 3 years earlier. Silent Hill was home to their special place, a place where they shared the best times in their marriage. Now, James sees a different version of Silent Hill than protagonists both before and after. In fact, James's story isn't one of cults and other worlds, but rather self-reflection, inner demons, regret, and self-loathing. While searching for Mary, he meets a whole cast of characters, all from different walks, each with their own crosses to bear. The first example in the series that the power of Silent Hill affects each person differently. First, James meets Angela, a runaway looking for her mother. She's untrusting towards men and clearly damaged, but also seems to be almost subservient when James asks her something. Now, without spoiling the plot too much, the plot of this 20-year-old game, Angela's story is one of pain, abuse, and fire. She lets James know much later on that Silent Hill to her is always burning. Next, and perhaps most importantly, James meets Maria, a woman who resembles Mary in the flesh, but couldn't be less like her personality-wise. She at first seems somewhat sympathetic, but soon James realizes that she's in fact part of his own psyche, something the town has created in order for him to realize the truth in himself and the things that he's done. Then there's Laura, a mysterious little girl that seems to not only know Mary, but also seems to be immune to the effects of the town. It's unclear as to what her purpose is in Silent Hill at first, but she is definitely tied to James and his quest for self-reflection. And finally, James meets Eddie, a teenage runaway who at first actually does seem sympathetic, but the more James learns about him, the more it's revealed that Eddie's in fact irredeemable and pretty much a shit. He's a selfish child who thinks his own suffering gives him the right to make others feel pain. Lastly is the debut of Pyramid Head, who's a metaphor for James' own regret and shame. This unkillable enemy stalks James throughout Silent Hill and can only be defeated when James realizes what this whole journey has been about. His own growing frustration, his hatred of his own sick wife, wanting to escape but knowing he can't, stuck in this impossible situation. So did you get all that? It's got a little bit more going for it than, what a mansion! Silent Hill 2 was about serious adult themes. Every situation, every enemy, every puzzle is in some way a manifestation of James's need for his own punishment. And quite frankly, growing up, this was probably one of the first games where I thought, wow, video games can be something. It's not just about movies, there's actual art here. And of course, just like when I spoke about Silent Hill 1, I have to give credit where credit's due in the soundtrack by Akira Yamaoka. Where Silent Hill 1's soundtrack was phenomenal, this one is even better. There's not a single track in this game that doesn't give you the feels. But hey, I know you all know this already, so what are you still doing here? Go ahead, dust off that old PS2 and play Silent Hill 2 again, because I promise you, it still holds up as one of the best. And as always guys, I'm TG. If you like what you saw, you know what to do. Keep it sleazy. Keep it spooky.